The next session is on football event logistics and financial impact. I would request all the speakers to come on the stage as I take their name. Jan Estella, COO Surf Cup International, founder Unique Sports. Syed Asif Hussain, competitions manager at South Asian Football Federation. Vivek Singh, managing director Procam International and vice president Sportscom. The moderator for this session would be Taruka Srivastav, core team member of the Global Soccer Conclave.
Hello, Vivek sir. And can we also see the other panelists? Hi, Syed. Hello. Hi, Jan. Hi. Hi, Syed. Is he there? Hello. Hi. Good evening. Hi. So obviously our topic is football event, logistics and financial impact. And as we know, logistics is the bedrock of any event which is organized. So I'll begin with you, Ms. Jan. The first question is here. Hi. So I would
Hi.
So I would like to know. Obviously post-COVID, the things have changed, and a lot of things have to be kept in mind when you're organizing a tournament, big or small. So what have been the challenges? What has been the new addition which has happened, in organizing an event, logistically?
Okay, first of all, nice to be here. Glad to be here again for the third edition. And after COVID, I think the main question in our side, it's about, first of all, was, okay, after COVID, it's going to be all with the same aspects that prior to the COVID? That's the first question. Because as we know, COVID changed mentality of athletes, changed mentality of organizers, changed mentality of governments, in terms of security, in terms of trips, in terms of attendance, in terms of fans engagement. And then I think last year it was like a new reality, but it seems like fortunately the events go like prior to the COVID, and it discovers us a new way to manage events, because we are using more and better video calls as a team organizing. We are using new technologies to provide a better fan experience. We are trying to mix physical and digital experience. And then I think after COVID situation, it seems like it's gonna be normal in terms of free traveling abroad in most of the countries, not at all of the countries, but in most of them. And I think we learn so much how to manage digitally new aspects of the organization. And I think we are in a really good moment, because we are in front of FIFA World Cup in November in Qatar. It's gonna be an extremely important mega event to see what actually the industry is.
Great. And Syed, if you can answer the same question, because you've also been involved in organizing SAF tournaments recently.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Well, challenges for logistic is always the biggest issue in events. And as Jen was mentioning regarding COVID times and non-COVID times, it's a difficult phase when you go into COVID scenario, and the habit of people, the mentality of a lot of people has changed. And it's in a good way, it's also in a bad way, that when you have physical audience in live stadium, the atmosphere is different. An empty stadium, we heard of a lot of superstars, how difficult it has been for them. For SAF events, the last two events, SAF Under 18 Women's and SAF Under 20, was held in Bhubaneswar and Jamshedpur. And it was very helpful, as Bhubaneswar, the Kalinga Stadium, is also one of the venues for Under 17 World Cup. So a lot of venues, a lot of logistics arrangements were already there, prepared, and a lot of things were being there as trial, as like, we had issues initially with floodlights, but that got resolved very quickly. And that says how equipped India is in terms of managing things quicker. And we understand in terms of events, we have to act quickly, as matters can come from anywhere. Other than that, if I say in SAF events, logistics part in different part of South Asian countries is very different challenge. Currently, I came to Nepal just today for the upcoming SAF Women's Championship in Nepal, Kathmandu. And it's a different scenario here, just getting used to it. But we're looking forward to a different kind of environment, pre-COVID, post-COVID. We are phasing out from the COVID scenario slowly, but we still have in mind that COVID still exists, and we still encourage people to have the highest of safety measures and be cautious, be self-aware of the scenarios, and be responsible whenever there is issues to come to the organizer, to come to the LOC for the treatment. So yeah, thank you.
Vivek sir, now on to you. Obviously, you've organized a lot of events. And what do you do when it comes to risk mitigation?
So first of all, thank you, and thank you for having me here, especially Dr. Amol and the entire team at Global Soccer Conclave 3.0. Yes, risk mitigation is something that's constantly on our mind. You can only do so much. You can create a backup plan for certain things. But finally, for mass events, for large-scale events, there is an element where we are vulnerable. Whether it's environment factors, whether it's political factors, these events are vulnerable, and we have to factor that in. There are various types of insurances you can take, there are various types of backup plans you can make, but that element of vulnerability that we are exposed to stays. As far as COVID, there was no plan B. We were, from our business, which is mass participation, distance running events, we had a complete lockdown. We could not do any of these events across any of the cities that we normally operate in. And yes, there was a speed breaker in our work. But otherwise, you have a very close liaison with the government, with the governmental agencies, the police, the municipal corporation, all the other offices that we go to normally. And if you keep your ears close to the ground, then there are many things and situations that can be avoided.
So Jan, I'll take you in because I know you worked with UEFA, and any big tournament is organized in synergy with the government, as you just mentioned. So what are the challenges? Because you have to be aligned in everything. But still, it's impossible because government has such big machinery. So what sort of challenges prop up when you have to deal with it?
First of all, it depends on the scale of the event. It's not the same if we are talking about a small event only covering or only needing the small government part, or if you are talking about last Euro, who was involved 8 different countries, 8 different cities, 8 different football associations. It's totally different, because I think one of the most difficult parts of managing an event, it's about how you deal with stakeholders and the different agents. And when I say agents, I also include in that part the suppliers, providers. It depends on if we're talking a small event or your a mega event. It's totally different because, for example, yesterday I was seeing the volunteer program for Qatar, and they made an event to show the number of volunteers involved, and we are talking about 20,000 people involved in the volunteer program. Then it means that, okay, when you are planning or executing also an event, it's totally important to create a smoothly communication with all the parts involved, to create weekly or regularly meetings to be aligned properly with the different agents involved, because if not, it's gonna be extremely difficult to align different agents, different departments, different areas, because probably when you are running the operations of a tournament, an event, or something like that, you will need police, you will need medical service, you will need accommodation, you will need transportation, and all these agents are not directly managed by the organization of the event. It's managed directly by their own company or the public government, and then you will need properly aligned to deal correctly with the issues could appear and to create a correct plan during the whole event. Then yes, it's totally important to create a smoothly communication with all the parts involved in a mega event.
Also, I just wanted to check. So, did force majeure, it's a clause, was it there in UEFA and CEF's contracts when they, organize a tournament? Has force majeure always been there, or have you just added it because of obviously what we've seen with COVID?
Okay, then normally I think the management or the dealings with UEFA, also FIFA, also big agencies, I think it changed a little bit after COVID. How normally they were managing, because it appears a new risk. Prior, my colleague was talking about risk mitigation, and we saw the last 3 years what's happening when you need to cancel or postpone events. And I think now biggest companies, also biggest organizations that are trying to create mega events, it's creating a new legal environment to be covered in case of. It's totally important because, of course, you cannot manage environment, you cannot manage weather, you cannot manage, catastrophic problems that could appear. But also, I think COVID created a new way to deal with, because no one except Wimbledon have insurance in case of a pandemic situation. And I think now I think 100% of the mega events have a big insurance in case of cancellation, in case of postponed.
Okay. Syed, to ask you, because obviously, you're organizing a lot of tournaments these days, Saif. So, what sort of tech have you included within tournaments? Like we've seen in the UK, they have Seat Unique, where they sort of have different sort of measures to not get affected with COVID, etc. protocols. So, what sort of tech have you guys integrated in the tournaments, if at all you have?
Well, when it comes to tech, we are still working on it. A few issues that came up regarding COVID and things are at hold. But in terms of streaming, that's one of our biggest priority, that all the tournaments are streamed Because when you talk about youth competitions under 15, under 18, at different parts of South Asia, it's very hard to get broadcasters because it's not that easy, or it doesn't catch attention of big broadcasters to come and show live because there's a big production cost there for youth competitions. So what we have in mind is whether we have broadcaster or not, to have the streaming there for all the competitions. And not just for, we have contract with our partner, but that is with, at this moment with just one camera, but we are looking into ways of having at least minimum 6 cameras or 8 cameras. Like in under 20, we had production with 14 cameras. And that was fantastic. For the fan experience was amazing. We got a very good feedback. Even in Nepal and Sri Lanka, we are working on the same kind of model, streaming with at least 6 cameras. That is the first thing. First is improving the fan engagement of the streaming platform. Second of all, to move forward, how to integrate data more for the players, coaches, so that they can read more out of the game and help the players to improve on the tactical game. Yeah, that is so far at this moment. Most importantly, SAF Women's and SAF Championship is the flagship event of SAF. And we are also looking forward at least 2024 for introducing the club championship as well. So it's something very exciting times and work in progress.
Brilliant. Vivek, sir, what has been your current experience with, dealing with post-COVID situations and then obviously organizing more events? What has been the response of the public lately?
I think the response has been very encouraging. We did Bangalore in May, which is the TCS World 10K. 19,000 people showed up on the start line. I think people are waiting, and I think the value of live events has gone up. People appreciate now what putting a live event together actually means. So that appreciation, whether it's from all stakeholders, your sponsors, your participants, everybody today appreciates the value of what a live experience brings. And the response has been very good. People have been looking to get together. People have been looking forward to coming together, whether it's participating, whether it's spectating. I think sports as an industry is set to grow over the next 10 years.
Great. Jan is here? Okay.
Hey.
Sorry. So in a youth event, do you consider that ground medical is a key point for teams to attend it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We cannot think about, but not only youth events, any event without medical ground coverage. It's impossible to think about it. I think it's a checkpoint. You need to be clear with all the stakeholders that this is a part of the event. With any event, I'm not talking only about sport events. I think it's gonna be more like entertainment in shows, and I think medical insurance need to be a must. Absolutely, it's mandatory, at least for us. But beside this, I think there are other aspects that we need to consider, because it's not the same the industry now that 20 years before, or probably 20 years in advance. I think we need to go more digitally. We need to stream more. We need to provide more live games. We need to provide more data for scouters, for coaches, for athletes. We need to provide more safety in terms of athletes protection, in terms of fan engagement. We need to do more. I think we need to learn from other industries, like, for example, NBA or major industries that are top on entertainment. I think we need to create something special, because finally, when we think about youth events, when we think about mega events, the key is to provide a lifetime experience. I think it's the most important part. We never forget this part, because if we are talking about youth events, the athletes, after they play in this tournament or this event, they need to remember for a long time, I was in that tournament, I enjoy a lot, I make some friends, some colleagues. Also we talk with the FIFA World Cup, it's the same for the fans attending. I remember for a long time, I was in the game Argentina against Saudis, I don't know. And the same is for a runner who is running a marathon. I remember for a long time I was here running this event because we create something special. We create a big environment with accommodation, a big environment with the sport facilities, a big environment with fan engagement. I think we need to create something special.
Great. Said to get your experience in, because you've been organizing a lot of tournaments recently again. In terms of sponsorship and finances, are more brands coming forward to be part of the events?
Well, as I mentioned before, like youth competitions and major competitions, there are vast difference, and it also depends where the competitions is being hosted. And in South Asia, when you travel from Bhutan to Nepal or Sri Lanka or India, the market is very different. In recent times, the event we had in Maldives, the SAF Championship, it had very good market. The value of the competition was higher than ever. It was just during COVID, just 2021, end of COVID, or just moving, phasing out. It was a very challenging time for us because the competition took place within 1.5 months, and SAF was determined to resume its competition, and Maldives were the best option as the COVID scenario was much lesser. And before that tournament, AFC had their own competition in Maldives, and it was very, very impressive how the people in Maldives, the companies, the organizers there, they came forward, and even the Maldives government, the president himself was there, and he wanted to host it. He wanted to sponsor the event. So SG's government supports the sponsors. We had the Orito was the sponsor, the title sponsor, and moving forward from there onwards, it's been progressive. Even in India, we had some couple of sponsors. After COVID, as we said, this year when just flew by, even next year we have a couple of competitions we have lined up, and the SAF team is also growing in number. At this moment, we are still a very young bunch, a very young regional federation moving forward, but the consistency of SAF having its competition every year, making sure the youth gets a platform to show their potential, that SAF wants to be the powerhouse in the next 10 years. We want one of the SAF or two, three, four SAF countries to participate and win this AFC Cup, be part of the FIFA World Cup. A lot has changed in 10 years if you look forward and behind the 10 years that India is hosting under 17 World Cup, and it's in few years' time we will see other countries of Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh coming forward. Infrastructure is also another big issue, that we don't have FIFA compliant stadium in all the South Asian countries. But that is something also the federations are working immensely on that. We have to be very patient with this. It's a progressive, it's a development part. When we think of development, we can't think that, within 2 years, 3 years. It's a long-term goal, and we have to keep on monitoring, and we have to pursue things on a consistent basis.
Okay, I'll stay with you. One more question, said. This year we witnessed SAF Under 18 Women's Championship and SAF Under 20 Championship. Do you see any difference in terms of logistics planning while hosting a men's tournament and a women's tournament? And even financial too. You can add both logistics and financial.
Well, in SAF, the things are very clear to us. Whether it's a youth competition, SAF Under 20 or women's Under 20, everything is similar. there is no balance, or it's a women's competition or it's a boys competition. In terms of logistics, we try to give the best possible in terms of the budget. So these competitions are FIFA Forward program, so we have a fixed budget depending where the host is. Bhubaneswar and Jamshedpur are two cities at the other side of the country. Of course, the Bhubaneswar, the hotels, the Kalinga Stadium, of course, I don't need to mention much that it's the host city for under 17. It's the home ground for the under 17 girls of India. If I have to just add few things out here, the most important thing what we think of is the experience, as Jan was telling, to make the events the most experience, that these players, when they come, they have this experience of having an international tournament. And we don't want to give them a 5-star hotel for these players, because that's not the agenda, giving 5-star hotel. It's just football is not the part of in the field. It's out of the field, as we want to make them a human being, to grow eventually. That you start from academies, you start staying 2 to 3-star hotel, and the way you grow, then you make it to the national team, you stay in 5-star hotel. So it's a journey, and the journey we want to make it as fruitful as possible. We give them that flexibility to within the game, not to take too much pressure, to enjoy the game. The match commissioner, the LOCs, they all play a very big role. And in coming years, what we have seen is a lot of the federations, what they have worked in, most importantly in terms of psychologically, physio, they have invested a lot on that. Video analysts, we see a lot of teams having video analysts, which we didn't see before. So that is a very progressive thing. One thing I would want to highlight, especially during SAF Under-18 Women's Championship, SAF introduced the first ever competition safeguarding protocol, which is the first of its kind in Asia, if you have to talk it. After FIFA introduced the protocol of safeguarding, SAF has taken the initiative to take it to the next level, to introduce what safeguarding is to the South Asian countries, because we believe having a safe environment will only create that positive environment for all new players to come in, for the parents to feel that their kids are safe in this environment. Only if we ensure the safety of players from all kind of harassments or abuse, if we can minimize that or even cut it to zero, I think the competition, the South Asian football this region is gonna grow very fast and very quickly.
Brilliant. Vivek sir, what is your experience in terms of getting sponsors for your events in India? Do you think there's been a increase in brands wanting to be present out there?
I think sports is a sunrise industry, and sponsors are coming to sports in a very big way. Hundreds of companies advertise, and advertising gives you the right to choose, gives the consumer the right to choose. Companies are realizing now, just giving the consumer the right to choose is not enough. Through sponsorship, they make sure to tell the consumer that the choice should be them. So one is advertising, which is right to choose. One is sponsorship, that you choose me, my brand, my product, my service. And sponsorship is making that difference for companies. It's bringing in the emotional connect, it's bringing in the social connect, it's bringing in a certain, which cannot just come out in advertising. So I believe that there are more and more yesterday, I was mentioning to you, Taruka, we had a very big launch in Delhi, which used to host the #1 half marathon in the world called the Airtel Delhi Half Marathon. And now we have a new sponsor called Vedanta, who has come in for the first time into sport. And Vedanta is a natural resources company, and they haven't been in sport. So you're seeing new sponsors come in, you're seeing them getting more excited about sponsorship rather than just advertising. And I think that augurs well for the entire industry, because sponsors are our lifeline. And yes, and as things go on, you will see more and more sponsors come in. You'll see different kind of sponsors come in. Some are looking for just their employee ecosystem. Some are looking for sustainability goals. Some are looking for advertising, marketing. But yes, there's a whole wave of new sponsors coming into sport.
That's true, Jan. I know in Europe there are a lot of sustainability companies, like you mentioned, Vivek sir, have come up. Logistically, there might be challenges, because then there might be some which advertise as they want to reduce carbon footprint, and obviously then accordingly you have to organize things so that not enough things are wasted. There are a lot of new innovations which have come up. So do you sort of include these innovations and integrate it if in case you have a sustainability partner?
Yeah, I think now sustainability it's a key part of when you are planning an event or when you are running operations of the event. Just because I think it's a new aspect, a new department who we need to include in our operations, because I think now actually there is the fans, the athletes, all the people involved in events is thinking properly about what's happening on the earth. And then I think it's not all about money, it's not all about sponsors, it's not all about the show or the entertainment. I think it's more now to include sustainability program. What does it mean? For example, it's not about sports, it's about, if most of you know Coldplay, the group, the band, it's actually doing the tour with 30% less problems with the earth, and they are not traveling by airfare, they are traveling only by train or by bus. They are trying to spend less, with the shows. I think we need to be conscious. I think it's not a thing we could do in a short period of time, but in a mid or long term, I think we need to think about, okay, how I can develop this event spending less. How can I provide a big experience for fans, for athletes, with them traveling by train, with them traveling by car, with public transportation? I think we need to be more conscious about it, because it's a big global conscious now, and it's a key point for some athletes, some federations, some companies to choose you or not. Now, obviously, when we're talking about it 30 years ago, probably the best factor to choose one or other one was the budget, was the facilities, the accommodation, the transportation you can provide. But also now, sustainability is one of the top.
Is it the same with you, Seth? With Seth?
Yes, of course, sustainability is always the top priority with SAF. If you think about the South Asian countries we have with Pakistan, and with the issues that we have, the floods in Pakistan, we hear everything every now and then in Bangladesh as well. It's one of the major concerns, and we have had issues regarding that. I think in 2015, we had an issue in Kathmandu during a competition that we had the earthquake in Nepal that took place, and the competition was held in between. if, as Jen was mentioning, having different mindset, how to go about it in this part of the world is also very important things. Who are the people who are interested in doing it? It's not every day that they'll come forward to you. You have to look for those kind of people if you want to initiate. It's important that you start initiate and you keep following up. And with the federations as well, we keep mentioning one thing, that how to reduce costs and do things more efficiently. It's not about having big budget and doing things in a very grand way. Of course, that looks good for fan engagement, look good in our TV sets, but at the same time, we have to think about sustainability of, think about in Maldives, we had issues with cans and bottles. After every town match day, we saw a lot of cans and bottles all over the stadium. And that is one thing, as an organizer, we didn't want to see those. We have heard a lot of issues regarding rise in sea level and all the cans and bottles found in the sea. And Maldives being a vulnerable country was not very helpful. But one thing that was very, very appreciated, that very next day we didn't see anything. No Coke bottles, no nothing, no plastic, everything was gone. And even the Coca-Cola company representative, they understood the value of it. And instantly they changed and they found a different way of serving their fans and making it engaging. We keep saying that nothing is being done. Rather than think nothing is being done, what can be done? What are the ways of making it happen? There are different approaches of doing things. It's just a matter of how much you want to give time to that. To what extent is that important to federations or to countries? That is the question to be asked. And federations and companies, they are there, and we have to work together for this to happen, to sustainability to take place.
Yes, we do indeed. Moving from sustainability to social impact. Vivek sir, I know a lot of events you organize, they have a social impact also, and you integrate, say, there are walks, marathons for breast cancer awareness and different areas of which needs awareness. So do you think that events such as these, not just footballing events in general, like you said, marathon, etc., they're a great way to make a social impact in the communities?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think social impact is given, when you're doing large-scale events, whether it's spectator sport like football, whether it's participative sport like distance running, the social impact is becoming more and more relevant. The marathons have proved to be particularly successful in raising funds and awareness for causes. Today, for example, the Mumbai Marathon is the largest platform for philanthropy in India. And over 200 causes get associated with it and raise monies and awareness from it. So yes, social impact has a large role to play. I think also the communicating of the message on a live platform of social impact, sustainability, governance has a role to play. And we are seeing that. If you see sporting events across the globe, they are being used as a platform for the right messaging. They are being used as a platform for change in society, because live events have a transformative power. And that transformative power is being used for social good. These events have heroes. People consider the players as icons and heroes. What they say matters. What they say influences public opinion, and what they say causes change. So yes, I think ESG, which is environment, social and governance, is going to play and continue to play a larger and more significant role in live events, whether it's participative sport or spectator sport.
I think you gave us a good mantra, the ESG. So Jan, is the same being followed by UEFA? Of course, I know there are a lot of programs, when it comes to social impact from kicking out racism, etc. So if you could just tell us about those, Jan, would be brilliant.
Yes, we need to think that recent studies inform us that only 15% of the youth athletes, I'm talking about football, are considered elite. Then what's happening with the rest? We are talking about a big amount of people. Probably these people never is gonna play a FIFA World Cup, never is gonna be playing with the national team, but we really think that it's extremely important to provide them with also lifetime experience. Then if we are only working on elite events, it's gonna be difficult to get them involved on the industry now as athletes and in the future as a fans. Then I think it's truly important to create a big environment of a community of social youth events for them, to provide them a big experience, to provide them with great facilities, with great accommodation, to provide the same environment that our elite athletes having. I think it's so important because youth always need to be treated with the same. And I think UEFA, also FIFA, also other federations, not directly related with football, I think have a big conscience of it. And they are creating a big amount of programs, providing practice session, providing education for players, for coaches, for officials. I think it's important to create this big environment of, now actually he's saying, to be heroes. All the people need to be heroes. In different aspects, not in sports. They can be heroes at the university, they can be heroes at the work, at the job. I think we need to create this environment properly. And I think these programs with UEFA, with FIFA, is creating this in countries they don't have enough budget to create by themselves. In other federations, they are providing support with education programs, with small youth tournaments. I think this is something interesting, and we need to be more efficient with these programs to arrive with more people.
Absolutely. Well said. My last question, it'll be for all of you, Syed, is, the UCL final season last year between Real Madrid and Liverpool, it started half an hour late due to the ticket goof up, obviously the double printing. How can we avoid such things?
Thank you. Before I go, I would quickly go to the previous question, if you allow me.
Yes, please go ahead.
In terms of social responsibility in this region, if I speak specifically, during COVID, if we have seen that a lot of icons, Virat Kohli or Tamim Iqbal, they came forward, they made an impact on health and fitness. People were staying home and people did follow them. When it comes to youth and elites, there are differences there, which has to be minimized. I'm not going to share the name of the team. I was returning from a country where the cricket and the football team both were there, but the treatment was very different. And we need to, as a human being, we think as a human being, not as a media person, that these players are human and no matter what the result is, they try to represent their country and try to bring glory to them. And when you differentiate them in between in public, they are human, they have emotions, and that's taken away from them. So what I'm trying to say is creating an environment where the elite who are already experienced coming forward, making a statement, making those environment within the system, within the country, within the campus, making ambassadors in the country is very important if you want to have a social responsible people in the community of us. Coming back to the question of UEFA, that was a very experience learning how things were. We are up late night in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and we are trying to, as an organizer, as a competition, I was eager what's happening, was trying to figure it out. Ticket duplication is something we have seen before, but recently it has minimized. E-ticketing is the best solution to it. And we have to go digitalized in terms of ticketing as well. Just in terms of ticketing duplication, I don't think it's the only issue that happened that day. It was lack of what I thought is, in my personal observation, was the lack of security and planning was not sync. There was a gap there. There's a communication gap there. When things were escalating, didn't know how to proceed with it, how to take good measures. So before a tournament, a major tournament like this, we have to have a plan B, C, and D in place. A small group of people who can make those instant decision when certain things or certain issues come forward, such as the ticketing, the lining. There was just one or two lining entrance to the stadium that created a big lineup. There's communication in terms of the ticketing. There's still the duplication. A lot of wrong messages were out there when to proceed to the stadium as well, because 2 hours or 3 hours, 4 hours, there's a lot of confusion there as well. So as a host, I think public display of when the spectators are supposed to enter the stadium, which are the gates, these are the things that has to be very open and transparent. The stewards has to be, different gates has to be used. Other than that, it's not everyday scenario we see there, but when a competition happens, even at the biggest stage, things like this can happen. But we always keep on learning from our mistakes, and that's how I think we have progressed in football, not in football, in any sports. After every big issues or any small issues that came up, we came forward strongly and we tried to minimize that or eliminate that issue in that side. Thank you.
Jan, do we have the same plan B, C's when you were Owen?
Please, I want to add something, because during the last year I was working on the ticketing department, and I'm updated with the new ideas of UEFA and FIFA. During the last Euro, all the tickets was on the app, digitally, all the tickets, and it was absolutely impossible to duplicate tickets, because at the moment you are sending a ticket to other person, it's disappearing from your phone. Then it was actually impossible to do that. But I think the problem with Real Madrid and Liverpool that day was with there was not exactly duplicate tickets, because it was a big amount of people surrounding the stadium without tickets. And I think there appears the black sales, there appearing some issues that was really problematic, and then appears a misunderstanding with communication with security and the ticketing department, because security was absolutely doing his job, absolutely, but it takes a lot of time to check all the fans going inside the stadium. And then it was a period of time that the people with holding tickets want to go into the stadium because the final is running just in 10 minutes. And in that moment appears the chaos, and then some people without tickets try to go into the stadium. I think it was, as we were talking at the beginning of the session, the communication of the different departments when you are running an event, it's absolutely important, because it's gonna be moments during when the people is going inside the stadium that the ticketing department, when they think, okay, we are having problems because we are not having the flow that we need to go all the people in, we need to communicate with the security, and then, okay, we need to go smoothly. We need to create new channels to make the security check or something like that, because if not, it's gonna be problems. I think it was more that kind of problem than not double tickets, because UEFA systems is not allowing to create duplicate tickets. And then it's something that happening when someone is trying to cheat and to go in, the security need to go out with this one, and then it takes a lot of time.
So to wrap it up, Vivek sir, my final question to you is for you also, obviously, logistic challenges are there, but of course, with bigger events, the ones like you do, there's a lot of cooperation from the local bodies and authorities, and because we know it's a seasonal thing. So what are the challenges which you have to face and which you've overcome? If you can just, share one experience where you felt like, oh my God, what has happened, and then you finally overcame.
No, managing large crowds is always going to be an issue. For our marathons, for example, we see so many people with color printouts of the previous year's bib trying to join the run. And like Jan said, like Syed said, you have to manage that. Security becomes a challenge. They have to go out, they have to explain to the person, they have to keep him away from the venue. When the security realizes that the bib is just a color printout of the last year's bib. So all these challenges are there. They are part and parcel. You learn every year from it, and you grow every year with it. Sometimes the systems get overburdened, and therefore you had a delay of 30 minutes for the match to start. But these world bodies have done a great job time and time again. So I don't think we should hold them just to one example where things did not go right. They have managed crowds. We have managed crowds. Sometimes, yes, your arrangements get overburdened, and then that leads to a delay. But this is part and parcel of organizing major live events, and we keep learning from each experience. Now we have barcodes on our running numbers. We have designs on our running numbers, which are not easy. The material that we use for running numbers is Tyvek, which is non-tearable, and it's a very expensive material to print on. So it's very difficult to duplicate. You just make it harder and harder for people to break and beat the system.
Brilliant. So innovation, a lot of innovation is come into practice. Thank you so much, Jan. Thank you, Seth. And thank you, Vivek, sir, for being here today.
Thank you, Taruka, for a wonderful session. And thank you to all our panelists, Mr. Vivek Singh, Syed Asif Hussain, and Janice Seller, for your valuable insights.